So we turned for home and ran aground. Well, you'd think I'd know, but again I have found that it's never enough for me. When the timing's wrong and the clock runs out and the end is all you think about, when less is more than a shadow of doubt, when it's never.
How's everybody doing today? So here I am in Beaumont, Texas, and I'm here to make a little film about Blind Willie Johnson. Now, who is Blind Willie Johnson? I first heard the name Blind Willie Johnson because of Depeche Mode. Now, Depeche Mode, the big British band, they had a song called John the Revelator, and it was attributed to Blind Willie Johnson. So I wanted to know more about him. That was years ago. And now that I'm in Beaumont, I knew that his last resting place is here. Blind Willie Johnson only had 30 songs recorded over 5 recording sessions between 1927 and 1930. But he's such a huge influence on so many artists. There's just a tribute album, I don't know how long ago it was. It was Tom Waits, Sinead O'Connor, Lucinda Williams. He left behind a legacy of music that is huge, and what a tragic life he led. He died penniless. He was a street performer and a street preacher, and he's buried in a cemetery here, but nobody knows exactly where. Let me show you the cemetery. As you can see, it stretches all the way over there. This is a little street here, an actual street. This isn't a cemetery street. This is a through street. Over here, over on this side, and over on this side. And as you can see, a lot of the graves are raised and broken. Now, this is predominantly an African-American cemetery that was left largely neglected, sadly. And I believe on that side was the pauper section for people who had no money and were just buried, sometimes without a headstone. And a lot of these headstones here, some of them, I believe the ones more over on that side, it's just scratched in by people. They just scratched in their loved ones' names. Like, it's not like officially engraved, you know what I mean? But out here somewhere was Blind Willie Johnson's grave, and nobody knew where it was for years. It was a mystery. However, people went looking for it. Now, this cemetery and where we are in Texas, a lot of the graves have sunken in, but also because of the flooding, they've raised up out of the ground and caskets floated down the street. Yeah. So people's loved ones, their bodies were lost. And nobody knew exactly where. Because there's also another Blanchett cemetery somewhere else here in Beaumont, which is very strange. There were 2, but this is the African-American section. So people did a lot of research into finding out where it was, and they finally pinpointed that he's somewhere in this cemetery. And they put up a nice marker for him, and I'm gonna find it. They pinpointed a little area of where his body would be. And it's gonna be difficult to find that monument. It's not a big cemetery, but it's not a big monument from what I've seen. But I'm gonna show you and talk to you and tell you about Blind Willie's life, and then I'm gonna take you to where his final home was. But let's take a look right now. I'm gonna show you some of these graves while I talk. So windy today, and you can see just to get across, it's all water. I'm gonna make my way across to talk to you right now. Blind Willie Johnson was born January 26, 1897. He was an American gospel blues singer and guitar player who performed on the southern streets of Texas and was noted for the energy and power of his singing and for his ingenious slide guitar accompaniments. Little is known about Johnson's early life, though a death certificate provided the date and location of his birth. When he was 7 years old, his stepmother, fighting with his father through lye in Johnson's face, permanently blinded him, although other theories have come out saying that he wore the wrong spectacles as a child or that he viewed a partial solar eclipse. It's never been proven which is which. From his youth, he sang gospel songs, accompanying himself on guitar for donations on the streets of small towns and cities, mostly in Texas. Blind Willie recorded 30 songs in Dallas and Atlanta from 1927 to 1930. His strong voice was a rough, low baritone. Joined with his urgently rhythmic guitar, his harsh singing achieved great force in If I Had My Way, I'd Tear the Building Down, a narrative of the biblical Samson and Delilah story. While most of his recordings conveyed similar potency, he created a unique joining of vocal moaning with slide guitar lines in the slow and haunting Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground, a wordless song about Christ's crucifixion. His version of that tune was which I highly suggest, by the way, that you seek out and listen to it. It's amazing. It's such a great song. It was included on the Golden Record, a phonograph record carried by NASA's Voyager space probe to introduce human civilization to any form of extraterrestrial intelligence that might encounter the spacecraft. Johnson continued to sing and beg on the streets until, after his house burned down, he slept in its remains, contracted malaria or pneumonia. It's not certain which, but eventually, after 1 week, he died. This cemetery is absolutely fascinating to walk through and very sad. But as you can see, people still come out and leave flowers, which is really sweet for their loved ones. But it is flooded. So I can see what they said. Like, look at the headstones here. I hope you can hear me. Look at this headstone here. Almost completely submerged. Over here, completely submerged. Wow. So there's 3 sides into a well. You can see over there's a pink one. 1, 2, 3. Oh, is that? Now I see off in the distance what I think might be his headstone that they put in for him, for Blind Willie. I think I just saw it as I turned around. Okay. Wow. Yeah. I know it's windy, I'm sorry. Honestly, I read so much about this cemetery, about coming to it and not knowing exactly what to expect. And I didn't expect something like this. I've been to cemeteries that are have been neglected through the years or had, I guess, extensive weather damage to them, or ones where you can't find the grave because the grass is overgrown. My grandmother's, actually, back in Toronto, one of my grandmothers, the grass is overgrown on one of hers, and she wasn't even buried that long ago, and I've had to talk to the cemetery a few times to tell them, can you please mow the lawn over it? But I mean, this is something I've never really encountered before in all my cemetery visits. And here's a grave. Oh, wow. Here's a grave where somebody's etched in, like I said. And I don't normally show private citizens' graves, only the celebrities that I'm visiting. But this is where somebody, you can see they've etched in the writing, hand carved it into the headstone right here. Take a look. I can't really get any closer. It's very muddy. I'm not afraid of mud, don't worry. But it's hard to kind of get up to it. But it reads, yeah, the ground is really, like, if I step, I sink. So you can see how these are singing. It says, in memory of our dear father and great-grandfather, Mr. Sam A.S. Williams, born in 1879, died in 1959. But that's hand carved. I've noticed like a pattern, not a pattern, but like a consistency that a lot of people that are buried here, it looks like the 50s and the 60s, 40s. A lot of 50s people in the 1950s and 60s. And the ground is really squishy. Now, the residents of this cemetery who are buried here, many of them are buried in shallow graves, which is what caused them to, the caskets to come up out of the ground during the flooding. and washed away down the streets. Wow. It's unbelievable. This is, I have to say, right now, for me, out of all the cemeteries I've been to, this is probably, it's not sad because people, I mean, I'm seeing flowers, and, you know, I'm sure they have family and they have loved ones, but probably live far away now, maybe, or maybe they're not around anymore. But all these people that are buried here were a father or a mother or a son or a sister or a brother or a daughter, a friend, and they were all loved at once. And I believe I've found Blind Willie Johnson's. Yeah, I think that's it from what I've seen. Nearby lie the remains of the minister-musician Reverend Willie J. Johnson, 1897 to 1945. Dark was the night, cold was the ground, which is the name of one of his songs, where he kind of just, it's more of a hymn, and he kind of moans, and then answers with his guitar. And then here's a plaque dedicated in honor of the people who did the research to figure out that nearby is where he was buried. And it reads, this plaque is dedicated December 10th, 2010 in honor of Shane Ford and Anna Obeck to show appreciation towards their hard work, extreme selflessness, and many dedicated hours of research so that Blind Willie Johnson will be properly recognized and honored for the amazing and soul-wrenching music that he gave us by raising money for this memorial to honor him forever. And it was actually through Shane Ford and Anna Obeck that I was able to find a lot of information out about how to get here. Reading about they went up to what's the name of the town? It's just outside of Waco, where he lived for a long time. I'll put the name of the town right here. It starts with an M. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, I mean, that's where he preached and sang on the street corners. And they did a lot of work to find where Blind Willie Johnson is, and somewhere around here. I don't know if you can hear the squishing of the ground as I walk on it, but it is flooded all over the cemetery. There's Blind Willie. There's his monument right behind me. If you're ever in Beaumont and you want to come see this, just look up Blanchette Cemetery. You find it. Just to park at the corner of Henkel and Inca Street. See where that car is right there? That little rental car, that little Kia, that's mine. Park right around there. Just look to your left and you're gonna see that monument with the guitar on it. Okay, now I'm gonna take you to where his final house was and tell you what happened there, because that's a very, very sad and bizarre story. And I believe there's a church there now. where his house used to be, which is so appropriate. Okay, it's not too far of a drive. Let's go. I don't know whose grave this is. M.B. Tappan Norton died in 1950. It's got these dogs. It's the only one surrounded by a little gate. Oh no, there's another one over there. Okay. We're surrounded by this little gate with horses here, skull here. My goodness. Wow. And a lot of dogs and a horse here. I guess more horses here. This must have, I'm not sure if this is the man or woman, but they were obviously an animal lover. Wow. And look at this grave right beside it. Completely sunken in. Let's go take a look at that pink casket that I saw. This is so fascinating to see this. Over here, there seems to be people buried in 1932, but there's 2013. Look at this. Wow. And you can't even read the name anymore. And that wreath has been there for a while. This one is for an army vet. That's incredible to see. Wow. Yeah, this gentleman died 2004. This woman's still alive. So it is very, very loud here, right beside a major interstate. But I'm standing on the former property of blind Willie Johnson. This is where he passed away, and this is such a sad story because he died penniless. And what happened was his house burned down, but his wife and him continued to live in the charred remains of the house for a week after he passed away. This is 1440 Forest Street in Beaumont. So for a week, they slept on old newspapers in the charred remains right here on this property. And he developed pneumonia. So his wife took him to the hospital, but they wouldn't treat him. Do you know why? It's listed on his birth certificate, death caused due to blindness. Now he was blind since he was 7 years old. His death was not caused by blindness. They wouldn't treat him because of his skin color. And he passed away at a very, very young age. And there's a monument here to him. A little marker. Because there is a church now on the property, which wouldn't have been here at the time. But he operated a house of prayer out of his house here. And I think I already mentioned, I'm not sure, he did radio shows too throughout the 40s where he preached and played gospel music and his own music and things like that. But yeah, the hospital wouldn't treat him. So a week they lived in a burnt out house, sleeping on wet newspapers. And sadly he passed away. And here's the monument right here. This would have been blind Willie Johnson's front yard right here. That's incredible to think that to know that. It's hard to tell, but it looks like there might be some parts of the foundation of a house that was here. I don't know much about things like that, but there are old bricks in the ground, right in the ground there, and foundation of a house here. Wow. Right up on this hill here, where these three crosses are. Yeah. That looks to be the foundation of a house all the way around here. There's more here. Wow. Wow. That is more here, yeah. This would be the foundation of the house. Yeah, all here, all the way down here. Brick and stone. Kind of goes right in the square all the way around. Well, I hope you found this as interesting and as fascinating as I do. This is something for me I love the most. I love music history, and well, I love music history the most of everything I do. Music history is right up there at the top. And being here is just, it's blown my mind. It's really blown my mind. And it's sad knowing that he spent the last 2 years of his life penniless here on this property. But may blind Willie Johnson rest in peace. Peace and love to you. See you on the next video. It's Blind Willie Johnson. Peace out. After all these years, there's charred remains here. I'm pretty sure that's, I mean, they kind of were here. Right here. I'll show you them now, but that's what it looks like to me. Wow. It's getting nice seeing that. Whew.